welcome back. This is 2.4 percents and proportions. So percents, what is a percent? Okay, well, if we talk about money, like a cent is, 1/100th of a dollar. Okay, so percent is the same sort of thing. Cent has to do with 100, and per means like 4. So what we're really talking about here is that a percent is per 100. Okay, that's what we're trying to come up with. Okay, per what in the world? Oh, there we go. Per 100. Okay, so if you score 100% on a test, explain what that means. Okay, so that would be like 100 out of 100. Okay, you got all of them correct. Okay, if Johnny eats 0% of his vegetables, that would be 0 out of 100. Okay, that means he ate none of his vegetables. If you eat 225% of a pizza, how many pizzas did you eat? Well, that would be 225 out of 100, which ends up giving us 2 1/4 pizzas. That's a lot of pizza. Maybe they're mini pizzas. Okay. If there are 30 students in Mrs. Cannon's class and 50% of them got A's on the last test, how many students received A's? Okay, so 50%, which is 50 of 100, okay, which would be 1/2. Okay, so half of the students, but we want to know how many students, so we would multiply 30 times 1/2 to give us 15. So half of the students would be 15 students. Okay, all right, so before we can perform percents, okay, percent calculations, we must be able to determine whether we are looking for the part, the whole, or the percent. Okay, so for example, this would be a whole. Maybe I should write here. This would be a part of the whole, and then the percentage would be kind of like what we already have here, like 50%. Okay, so we're just trying to look in certain situations where we would have a whole, a part, or a percent. Okay, so here's an example of a problem that you would maybe have on a test or homework or review, okay, or quiz. What is 20% of 40? Okay, so 20% is given to us, so we are not looking for the percent. Okay, that's already been given to us. We are finding 20% of. Okay, oftentimes when we're using of, that means we're multiplying. We'll multiply 20% times 40. Okay, that number after of, which here is 40, is always going to be the whole. So if we want 20% of 40, that would be 40 would be the whole, and we want to try and find the part. So since we're trying to find 20% of something, we're looking for the part. Okay. Example 2, 12 is what percentage of 60? Okay. First one, it says we are finding a percent of 60. That number after of, kind of like we talked about here, that means that the 60 is the whole. Okay, whatever comes right after of is going to be the whole. It says 12 is what percent? Is almost always the number before the percentage. or the piece, or the part. Okay? So 12 would be the part, 60 would be the whole, so something like 12 over 60, and that would give us our percentage. So since it says what percent, that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to find the percent. Okay, example 3, 16 is 40% of what number? Okay, so again it says is. So whenever we have is, it's almost always the number before the part. Okay, 60% is given to us, so we're not looking for the percentage. And 16% represents the part of some number. We are looking for that some number, which is the whole. Okay? So just being able to look at these types of problems and see what are we really looking for, whether it be the whole, whether it be a percentage, or if it's the part. Okay, and we have those hints like is or of, okay, to help us know which one's which. Okay, so the 32 students in Mr. Tolentino's class vote on the favorite barnyard animal. 40% like pigs. How many students like pigs? Okay, so 40% is given to us, so we're not looking for the percentage. The 32 students represents the whole, okay, that's the whole class. And we are trying to find the part of the class that represents the 40%. Okay? So let's do some practice problems. For each problem, state whether we are looking for the part, whole, or percent. We don't need to even solve for what we're looking for. We just want to try and figure out what we're looking for, okay? So what number is 60% of 200? So again, we have this hint with of. This would be the whole. This is the percent. Okay, so we must be looking for the part. Okay, 40 is, that gives us a hint that this is the part, this is the percentage, and what number is going to be the whole. So 40 is 25% of what number? That would be our whole that we're looking for. Okay, 25 is what percent of 125? Well, we're trying to find what percent, so obviously that's going to be our percentage. Okay, and again, we could look at of, that's our whole, and this would be our part. What is 140% of 20? Okay, this would be our whole. This is our percent. And what is, okay, that would be our part. Okay, find 16%, so that's our percent, of, which would be our whole. So we want to find the part again. Next we have 600 is, so that's our hint that this is our part. Okay, 600 is 300% of what? Of what? Tells us that that would be our whole. Okay, and as you notice here, the part is going to be greater than the whole, which is interesting, but you can have percentages more than 100%. Okay, all right, and then the last one, 45% of the class is girls. There are 90 girls in the class. How many students are in the class? Okay, so we have the percentage, and we have part of the class. This would be part. We want to find the whole, so the whole students. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Vocabulary, there we are, sorry. All right, a ratio, okay, we're kind of switching to a new thing. We're talking about ratios. Ratios is a comparison of two quantities using division, okay? So for example, 5, according to the Sports Good Manufacturing Association, 95.1 million Americans participate in recreational swimming. 56.2 million Americans participate in recreational biking. 52.6 million Americans participate in bowling, and 44.5 million Americans participate in freshwater fishing. So find each, so we want to find each of these two problems. The ratio of recreational swimming to recreational biking. Okay, so a ratio is we just want to make a comparison, okay, using division. So we're going to have some sort of division, okay. We want to have the top is going to be our recreational swimmers. So our swimmers, let's see, where's our swimmers? Right here. Would be 95.1 million. And then bikers, we're going to find our bikers, which is 56.2 million. Okay, so this would be our ratio. Okay, the ratio of people who fish to people who bowl. So fish, our fishers is right here, 44.5. And our bowlers is 52.6. So this would be our ratio. Okay. Proportion, this is our next thing. Proportion is a statement of equality of two ratios. Okay. So for example, this could be our ratio. We have a ratio of 4:7, and 8:6 can be written as a proportion. Okay. So 4/7 is the same, it's equal to 8/14. Okay, and you could prove yourself by just simplifying, which would give us 7 or 4/7. Okay, so they are proportional. All right, so let's do some examples by solving proportions. Okay, method 1 is the cross product. So cross product is you multiply this direction, that would give us 4 times, or 6 times 42, and then we would multiply these two together, 7 times x. Okay, and then we would multiply 6 times 42, which gives us 252 equals 7x, and then we would need to divide both sides by 7 to solve for x divided by 7. Okay, so we'd end up getting x equals 36. Okay, so we could do that again. Maybe I'll show you a little trick. So we'd multiply 6 times 35 equals 14 times x. Okay, we could divide the 14 first. And sometimes we can simplify things. So for example, here 6 over 14 is the same as 3 over 7. Okay, if that helps, then you can do that. Otherwise, you could just plug it in your calculator. 6 times 35, and then divide it by 14, and you'd get 15 equals x. Okay, so we'll try one more. All right, cross multiply. That gives us 2x. And then here we get 3 times 126. Okay, and then we'll divide both sides by 2. So we'll do 3 times 126 and divide it by 2, which gives us x equals 189. Okay, method 2 is, some people call it the fish method. So you always start either above or below your variable. So here 3, we'll go 3 times 25. So we multiply, and then we divide. So we multiply, and then we divide, okay, and that will equal our x. So that would be 3 times 25, and then we'll divide it by 15, and that will equal x. So 3 times 25 divided by 15, you'll end up getting 5 equals x. Okay, or x equals 5. Okay, so we multiply, divide, equals. Okay, 8 times 162, and then we'll divide it by 216. 8 times 162 divided by 216, and you end up getting x equals 6. Okay, same thing again, you would multiply 32 times 25, and then we divide by 60. 32 times 25 divided by 600, sorry I said 60. All right, and if equals x, okay, your calculator may tell you that it is 4/3, okay, or it might have it as a decimal, okay, and that's okay to have fractions or decimals. All right, so the percent proportion equation, okay, so this can help you when you're trying to solve for those parts that we're looking for, okay. So the first is, the equation is P over W equals percent over 100, where P is the part, W is the whole, this is obviously the percent, okay. All right, so since we know how to solve proportions, all we need to do is substitute. I messed that up. Substitute the two values, okay, whether it be the part or the whole or the percentage, and then we will solve for the unknown variable, okay, just like we did for example 5. Okay, so we're basically bringing it all together. First we need to find what we're looking for. So 45 is, so that would be our part. 45 is what percent of 68? So of tells us that that is the whole. Okay, and we want to find the percentage. So we're just going to use the proportion. So part is 45 over 68 is equal to the percent, which is what we're trying to find, all over 100. Okay, so you could use the fish. Okay, so we'd go 100 times 45 divided by 68 equals the percentage. And you kind of see that looks like a fish. Where's my fish? Okay, so 100 times 45 divided by 68. Okay, and it gives you a decimal, but that's just fine. You could just round up or something. That would give us 66%. Okay. Next one, what is? So we're trying to find what goes right before is, which is the part. And this would be our percentage, and this would be of, since it says of is our whole. So we'd do P over the whole, which is 426, equals 33 over 100. Okay? So you can do that again if you want to do the fish. 426 times 33 divided by 100 gives us P. So 426 times 33 divided by 100. Again, if you need to round, that's okay. So for all of these, let's round to the ones place. Okay, so that would end if you round, well, if you plug it in your calculator, you get 140.58. You round to 141, okay? What is, so this would be our part again, so we'd do P over 25 equals 45 over 100, okay? Again, multiply, divide equals P, so P equals 25 times 45 divided by 100, and that gives us 11.25. Okay, setting this up again, this is our part, this is our percentage, we want to find the whole. So we would do 62 over W equals 82.5 over 100. Okay, so we'd multiply, divide, equals W. So 62 times 100 divided by 82.5. And that would give us W equals 75.15. All right, next, what is? So that would be our part. This would be our percentage, and this would be our whole. So we'd do P over 86 equals 25 over 100. So we'll multiply, divide to give us P. So 86 multiplied by 25 divided by 100. That gives us P equals 21.5. 63 is, so that would be our part. This would be our percentage, and we want to find the whole. Okay, so we have 63 over W equals 52 over 100. So 63 times 100 divided by 52 equals W. So W equals 63 times 100 divided by 52. W equals and we get 121. Okay, 0.15. Okay. All right. Just some more examples. This would be our part. We'd want to find the percentage, and this would be your whole. So 18 divided by 48 equals percentage over 100. So we'll multiply, divide to give us our percentage. So 100 times 18 divided by 48. And that gives us, your percentage is 37.5. Part, percentage, whole. 7 over 172 equals percent over 100. We'll multiply, divide to give us our percentage. 100 times 7 divided by 172. And that gives us 4.1%. Okay. All right, so that's everything. Next time after this, we'll be doing the review and then the test. let me know if you have any questions.